Social media can be a great tool. Okay. I was listening to a podcast today called Win Every Time. If you want to look it up, you can. And they were talking about brand and reputation and things like that. And one of the co-hosts or the co-host brought up a good point that this is probably the first time in history, like this era we're living in with social media and marketing on social media, that you no longer have to have the best product. You just have to be the best marketer to sell. And in a lot of ways, that's really true. Okay. How many times do you get a social media an ad on social media, Instagram, Facebook, think something like that, and you click on it and you buy a product? I know I've done it several times. It's not usually a high dollar item. It's just something that I could see myself use. I think this ring light that I'm using right now, if you're watching it on YouTube right now, by the way, we are on YouTube now. Look up Simple Disciplines on YouTube. It's just a bunch of clips from the podcast, and then the whole episode is uploaded on podcast as well, just completely uncut. So it's nothing fancy on YouTube. But if you would like to watch me talk, you can go to YouTube and go to Simple Disciplines. I know that there are a handful of people that listen that just watch. I think we're at like 4 or 5 viewers every episode. So that's more than zero. So, hey, if that suits you better. But if you're listening on podcast right now, I'm using a ring light. And I believe I bought this on social media. It's not the best one ever. It was cheap, but it stands up. It folds down. It has 3 different light colors, different light settings. And I use it. Is this the best ring light? No. I have had other lights in the past that are significantly better that I've used for other applications. But this does the job. Okay? The only complaint I have is that it's a little unstable. Okay? And I think it could be the ring light could be a little bit bigger to get more of a, flood light, if that makes sense. But you no longer have to have the best product to be able to sell a bunch. In fact, there are tons of people who have absolutely no skills whatsoever, who have absolutely built nothing other than followers on a platform that make money with their platform. Whether they get paid to post, whether they get paid to, promote a product. If you can just build a following, if you can figure out how to build a following, that in itself is sort of a skill. Through my experience, there's also quite a bit of luck involved in building a following on social media that's sustainable. And I'm not talking like 10,000, 20,000 followers. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of followers. You don't have to have necessarily a skill in building a business or making a product. You just have to be able to market it the best. And in a lot of ways, that's true. You do not have to make the best product to sell, get clicks, things like that. But how sustainable is that? And it got me thinking that the opportunities that I've had to run my business differently, to get more clicks, to get more quote unquote clients. And I've talked about this before. I get messages all the time. It's almost annoying. I almost want to literally classify my business as something different so I don't get all these DMs about growing my click funnel and all these things. I focus on having, and I've talked about this before, on delivering a solid product to my clients. And right now that just has me doing one-on-one coaching. Am I missing out on a lot of money? Sure. Probably. I mean, I know I am. But the fact of the matter is I heard a quote by Gary Vee. I'm pretty sure it's by him. You can either spend 3 years selling a product, or you can spend 3 years developing a product and have it sell itself. And if you know anything about sales, if you're listening right now and you're an entrepreneur or you're in some sort of business, you understand that selling is tiring after a while. It has its highs and lows. Constantly constantly cold DMing people, constantly trying to get people to buy your product is tiring. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of trial and error. There can be a lot of wasted money if you try to run ads, which I have, and some ads are successful, some are not. And I've done ads for other people. I've helped them with their social media for them to run ads, and it can be very profitable. However, selling is tiring. Okay? Selling, if you're new to the space, there's a lot of I would say that I'm an average salesperson. I wouldn't say I'm the best ever. I will say my closing rate for my business is pretty high, but that's because of the process I have to get to, a sales call with a client. So by the time I get on a sales call with a client, they already know what we're talking about. They already know what they're in for, and they are looking for me to coach. They are looking for a coach in some sort of capacity. Okay, so I wouldn't say that like my closing rate is indicative to how great of a salesperson I am, but I can tell you that sales is tiring, just the whole process of it. And so, how sustainable is that? If you're doing all this selling yourself and you're doing everything yourself, and like you're a one man show for business, similar to what I am, I do have people that help me here and there, but they don't necessarily help hands on with the business. They more kind of advise, things like that. You are kind of limiting yourself to growth. Okay. And I just said a disclaimer a second ago that I am personally missing out on a probably tripling, I'd say. I kind of ran the numbers, doubling or tripling how much I make if I run my business, my coaching business a different way. But I'm so focused on creating a great product that right now the only way I can work on it is if I do this coaching one-on-one. Okay. Because every client I've had about 10 to 12 clients this year. I think I'm at 12. I honestly kind of lost count because I just focus on each individual person. I've had up to 6 at the same time, and 5 or 6 is about as much as I can handle at the same time while delivering a solid product and doing all the things outside of my business. School, football, being a husband, being like present wherever I go, which is something I teach my clients, is to be present everywhere you go. So 6 right now is about the max I can take at a time. There's ways where I could take significantly more clients and probably at a higher price rate. However, if I charge a higher price, for example, I'm missing out on the clients that I actually feel like benefit from my program. Okay. And then if I take on more clients and do more of a group coaching, because I do one-on-one coaching, if I focus on more of group coaching, I am not delivering everything that I want to deliver. Does that make sense? Okay. So this doesn't just apply, what I'm about to talk about isn't just applying to service-based business. It's also based on if you have like a retail, some sort of product, like a physical product you're selling. Okay. But at the end of the day, we all have the same goals where you want to make money selling a product. Okay. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're entrepreneur, you're somebody who works in a company. I know for a fact I have a few listeners that are not entrepreneurs, but they are in some sort of they're, and I call it I don't know if it's a real word or not. I've heard people use this term, an entrepreneur, where you are working within your skills, where you're kind of like an entrepreneur, but you're under the umbrella of a business. So you're getting paid by a company, but essentially you're kind of doing your own thing, right? That's kind of where I fall. That's kind of where I put real estate agents. I've talked about this before as well, where you are an entrepreneur, but also you're kind of a lot of times working with a team or under a broker where you're using their brand and their label, like their the Keller Williams or Century 21 or what is that, Remax or something like that. Like you're an entrepreneur because you're under those umbrellas. However, you are responsible for your own income. Okay, I would kind of put car salesman, if you're working at a dealership, kind of in the same bracket as well. So what I'm getting at here is we're at this unique point with social media and the internet where you do not have to have the best product, but how sustainable is that? We've seen this a lot, and there's plenty of examples you can use. And even if you have bought a product that isn't the best, but they had it, let's say you see an ad for a product from a company on social media, and you buy that product and that is not the best product, you have problems with it, you probably aren't inclined to buy from that company again, from that whoever supplied that product. Maybe you're even less likely to buy from Instagram. I know people who do not buy off of social media ads anymore because every product they get is just trash. But their marketing was so good, they thought it was the best product ever. So you'll see with these companies, there are different stages from which a company grows. There's like an everything from inception. I don't remember the exact names of the stages on the top of my head, but you'll see a maturity, or you'll see a growth rather. You'll see a growth, right, where they have exponential growth or a sustainable growth, and they reach maturity, from which if you were looking at a graph, it rises either at a steady rate or very fast. And then maturity is when it kind of like peters and it kind of like tops off. And then there's a decline or like a regression. Okay, it's pretty typical with every business, even big companies. Whether the maturity line lasts for a long time, but it kind of depends. But regardless, there is a decline stage. And for a lot of those companies that you see that are just good at marketing, but they sell boo-boo products, you'll see that their maturity level, their maturity stage happens a lot faster, and it goes by quicker. Okay, so they have an exponential growth, but they have a plateau really fast, and then a steep drop off, and they will probably never be seen again. So if you're just trying to make a couple G's, you can do that if you want. But if you want to build something that's probably not sustainable, that is not sustainable, not probably, it is not sustainable. So I'm encouraging people right now that if you're trying to develop a product, keep developing it. I'm not saying to not ever take it to market, and there is that factor of overthinking, and that is a thing that entrepreneurs struggle with, is overthinking, so that they never act. You need to make sure that you're selling and putting to market the best possible product you can physically do. Okay, if it's a little bit of a slower growth, that's okay. It's part of the process. However, like we talked about, if you are able to have a way better product than your competitors, people are more likely to buy from you. And if you have a couple of, like say if you sell a retail product and you have different SKUs, you have different products or different sub products or whatever, if you have a reputation of having solid products, you can rely on you having the best products, and people are more likely going to buy from you again. And then once you kind of see that's happening, you can then charge a higher price. And all the time, people, I do on a lot of things, pay more money if I know the product is significantly better. Like if I were to buy another ring light, like I was talking about, I will pay for a better one from a certain brand. I'm drawing a blank on what brand it was that I used before. It wasn't a ring light. It was a light that I had. It was a ring light kind of, but it's a different kind of light. I would probably buy from that brand again, because that light, although it was smaller, and I can't use it for what I'm doing now because it clips onto the side of my desk and it hangs over my computer, it was a better light. Okay, I know that's a simple thing, but car batteries is a good example. I buy Duralast car batteries because I've experimented with cheaper car batteries, and here in Texas it gets really cold and really hot throughout the year where I live, and there's problems with those batteries and they don't last as long, and there's not the same warranty, there's not the same customer service from the retailers when I try to go exchange that battery. Okay, they don't offer, other batteries don't offer you what they call like when you, I'm trying to blank what it's called, something when you exchange it, they give you a little bit of money back because you gave them the old battery. Other brands that aren't Duralast don't always do that. Okay. So what I'm getting at here is having a superior product is essential for having long-term success and long-term like the maturity rate in your business, okay, the maturity stage in your business. And all the time, I notice people are focusing on branding, having the best marketing, having the best whatever. And people are missing that part of branding is your reputation. Part of branding is having a better product. It's kind of annoying to me that I'm seeing, and I have clients that that focus on the wrong thing when it comes to selling a product. They're focusing on the wrong thing. Back in the day, people bought based on quality because there wasn't the internet, there wasn't social media, and it was a lot of word of mouth. It was a lot of going and shopping like in person, putting your hands on the product, test driving cars, for example. But now I see people go to a car lot and they already know what they want, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, before they even test drive. I know people who are like, I want this car, and they go buy it. They don't test drive it. They a lot of times buy it unseen. Especially after 2020, people were buying cars that weren't even on the lot yet. They were waiting months for a car. And if you really want that car, so be it. I'm not talking about like luxury car. I'm talking about like trucks, the Bronco, for example. The Bronco, for people who don't know, the 2020, 2021 or 21 or the 22 Bronco, there's a significant transmission problem that they are fixing for people for free. It's part of a recall, but that's just an example of them having some of those Bronco commercials. Those were amazing commercials. I remember them. And I used to have a 1986 Bronco. That was my first truck. And it made me want a Bronco again. However, I got in one. It wasn't very spacious. There was a lot of limitations to what the Bronco could do as far as my daily driver. There wasn't a whole lot of cargo space. You know what I mean? This is what I'm getting at here. Is I went and sat in one at a car lot, and I didn't test drive it because I was worried that I was going to love it so much because of how it looks, how it does this, and how it just looks cool. But is it the best product? I don't know. I'm not here. I'm a Ford guy. I'm not here to hate on Ford. I'm just using this as an example. But I know a lot of people who bought Broncos where they were waiting on it to be shipped. They never test drove it. They never, did their due diligence to see if it's the best product for them. And I think that's a lot to do with this modern age of marketing, where if you can have the coolest, most eye-catchy, the most quote-unquote promises, you can sell more products. And you can use that to your advantage. And like I already said, you can get clicks. You can get people to click through your website funnel. You can get people to buy your product simply based on having some of the best marketing. However, does your reputation with that product, will it last? If you sell a bunch of your product, but it gets a bad reputation for being an inferior product, is that going to hurt you or help you? It's going to hurt you. If you can sell your product and it is a superior product and you build a reputation, that reputation is going to then in turn help your product to sell itself. So you can either put a lot of time and effort in selling your product, or you can put a lot of time and effort on having the best product and let it sell itself. Granted, there is the bridge where you have to use marketing to get your product out there, but are you doing it too soon? Are you pushing something you can't deliver yet? Are you making these promises that are going to be empty and that the promises don't? If you're promising all these solutions, you're promising all these perks with the product, you're promising that your product will do X, Y, and Z, but you don't deliver, or you have to deliver, or it's not fully what the buyer is expecting, then your reputation is going to take a hit. And reputation as your business and as yourself as the owner or as a person is super important for long-term success. I really hope you guys are grasping what I'm trying to say here, because I'm not saying to not market your product, because marketing is super. I'm minoring in marketing in business because it is important, and that it is a skill to be able to market your product, and it is something that you need to do to have as long-term successful business. Listen, let's look at Tesla. I want to use this as an example. Have you seen a Tesla commercial? If you have, you need to let me know, because I believe they do not. I did not necessarily Google this before. This is just coming to mind. They do not do TV ads for their product, for Tesla. And I lived in Southern California, and those who listen to the West Coast, there's a lot of Teslas out there. Where I live in Texas now, very few Teslas. But they are a quality product. I'm not an electric car fan. I just know that, they look good. People enjoy driving them. They have an experience of driving that electric car that is unmatched for some people as far as acceleration, the comfort, the quiet, the big screen, just how the interior is really comfortable and how it looks. That is a superior product, and they don't even do, typical marking mediums that most other car companies do. But yet, they're one of the most profitable companies. Tesla and Ford, I believe, are the only two companies that have car companies that have not gone bankrupt. That did not need a bailout. Okay. So if you use Tesla as an example, Elon Musk spent a lot of time developing a cool product, even with the Cybertruck and the Roadster. The Roadster has been promised for a couple of years now, but they have yet to deliver one. The Cybertruck has been promised for a couple of years now, and have yet to. I believe the Roadster is very late. The Cybertruck's a little bit late, but he spent time in developing a great product and being able to manufacture. He talked about on Joe Rogan's podcast, the manufacturing is very difficult, and he was trying to come up with ways to cut costs while delivering the best possible product he could that delivered on his expectations. Okay, and Elon has very high expectations. And another note with that too, if you're going to sell something that you don't believe in, you are going to fail. Selling something that you believe in and something that you use, something that you believe in, something that you think is the best product on the market, you're going to do so much better. If you're selling with conviction, you're going to do so much better at selling than when you're selling some BS product. Imagine if you went to a Ford dealership and all the salesmen at Ford weren't driving Fords. Granted, if they drove like a Lamborghini to work, that's a little bit different because classes, right? But if your typical car salesman isn't driving at one of these name brand dealerships, Ford, Chevy, whatever, they aren't driving the product they're selling, then what does that tell you? They don't really believe that what they're selling you is the best product. I would go be a Ford salesman tomorrow. Honestly, I love Ford. I love Ford trucks. I've always driven Ford vehicles. I like the way they drive. I like their performance. My truck has 230,000 miles on it, 2013 F-150, and I've had very minimal problems, and that's been pretty typical with every Ford I've owned and my family's owned. And there's a reason why the F-150 is the most sold vehicle of all time. You can Google that if you want. It's the most sold vehicle of all time, the Ford F-150. Not the most sold truck, most sold vehicle of all time. There's a reason why fleets, all your work trucks, most police cars are all Ford. And I can tell you that, I just a little side note, and the town I grew up in, Allen, Texas, they always had Fords. They got the new Chevy Tahoes one year. This is a long time ago. This is like 2012 or something. They got the Chevy Tahoes, and one of the Chevy cars, I don't remember which one it was, but all the police, they all talked about how they hated it. The Tahoes did make a turnaround, and some of the Suburbans are good now, but they all hated the cruiser that they sold, like the sedan, and they all were wanting to drive the old Fords because it was just a better product. So focus on the quality of your product. Focus on delivering the best product, because that is going to help build your reputation as a brand, as a company. Don't focus on the colors. Don't focus on how things look as far as marketing. Not yet. Focus on developing the best product, because even if you have mediocre ads, but it's a superior product, you're going to outsell in the long run, in the long term, over the course of your life, your competitors. And that's what I'll leave you with here today is focus on your product driving your reputation, not your marketing. Okay? Listen, I really thank you guys for listening or watching now that we're on YouTube as well. I want to encourage you to share this with people, share this with entrepreneurs. This episode specifically was a lot more focused to business owners, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. So share this with some of your fellow entrepreneurs. Just give them a little boost. If especially if they're on a journey right now, being an entrepreneur is not easy. I can tell you. or just share this other episodes with people that you feel like can benefit from this. I don't pay for ads for this show. It costs me money to do this show. I do this show for free. And I would really just like it if you shared. That's it. That's all I'm asking. All right. I really appreciate you listening. I feel blessed that you would take time to listen. This episode's going about 25 minutes now. And I really just appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to this episode. And I can't wait to come out with another one and see you there. Don't forget to follow the Instagram, Simple Disciplines on Instagram. Find the YouTube if you'd like on YouTube, Simple Disciplines on YouTube. I managed to get the names on both. I don't know how I did that. Maybe it was just luck. And if you have any questions about the show, any questions, or if you want to message me directly, you can message me on Instagram at Simple Disciplines on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM. My DMs are always open. Peace. Have a good one.